Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you how to set up a project with Lime2D. Um, Lime2D, in case you don't know, is an in-game map and animation editor for 2D C++ game development projects. So you're basically going to be able to put this library into your game, and you'll be able to edit maps and animations in real time. So I'm going to show you how to set it up because it could be a little confusing. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're actually going to want to go to my website, limeoats.com/lime2d-setup-guide. So you'll end up on this page. This is just a written guide. The only thing you really need here is this link right here. This is a link to a project template that you're going to want to use. So you'll start out all of your Lime2D projects with this template. So basically, you're going to need 5 things for this to work. You're going to need Lime2D, which you can get here. You can either compile it yourself using all the source, or you can just download the library files and the header files, which will show up in releases here tomorrow. So start by doing that. I'm going to show you how it compiles by itself if you compile it yourself. Then you're going to want to download the Lime2D project template. So if you just click that link, that will download. And you're going to open that zip file. And basically there's a folder called project inside of it. So just drag that somewhere. Extract that from the zip file and put it somewhere. Then you're going to need some kind of IDE or text editor or something to write your C++ project in. Whatever it is you use, I highly recommend downloading JetBrains CLion, which you can get from this link right here, and it'll download. Fantastic C++ IDE, so I recommend you do that. All of my screenshots and everything you'll be seeing in this video and all of my future videos are in CLion, so it'll be easier for you to follow along if you use that. You're going to need SFML, preferably the most recent version, 2.4.0, which you could download from this link right here. And finally, you're going to want to download Lua. Now, with Lua, on Windows, you're going to download the binary and install it somewhere, preferably C/Lua, as I said here. On Mac, you probably already have Lua installed, and if you don't, there are many ways to install that on the commands line. Just Google that, and that should set it all up for you. So like I said here, I highly recommend that you install SFML and Lua if you're on Windows to these directories, because CMake, which we'll be using for this, is going to be looking at those directories. And you can change it later on, but it's just easier if you don't have to change it later on. Alright, so let me show you what I'm talking about here. So to set up the project, like I said, you're going to extract the projects folder from the Lime2D project template zip file that you downloaded before, and then you're going to rename it to the name of your game. So I'm going to rename this folder right here to A Note for Lime, which is the name of my game. Then you're going to start up your IDE and open up that project template. So if you're using CLion, you will open it like this. And hold on. Lots of things are opening. So you're going to open it like this, and you'll see this window, and you're going to go to Open Project, and wherever you just put that, so desktop, a note for Lime. Hit OK, and it'll open up this nice project. Now, I provided for you in this template, I provided a main file, a CMake list, a config file for Lime2D, and basically just a very small project structure for your content. Animations, maps, shaders, sprites, and tile sets. All of these are necessary. Lime2D looks for them, so you need these in your project if you're going to use Lime2D. Okay. I also recommend that you keep this main file and then just change it as you need to with your game. It sets up a bunch of Lime2D stuff with this editor variable, but we'll get to that in a bit. I can make this bigger. Alright, good. So, the next thing you're going to want to do, now that this is open, you're going to want to open CMake lists.txt, and you'll see this line here that says project. On line 2, you're going to want to change that to the name of your project, whatever that might be. So I'm going to rename it a note for Lime. Okay. The rest of this you can keep the same. It uses project name, which is this variable up here, so you don't need to worry about it. So at this point, you can right-click on your project if you're using C-Line and click Reload CMake Project. If you're not using C-Line, you're going to have to run CMake some other way. You could run it through the command line. I know that they're on Windows, at least there's a graphical interface that you can use with CMake that comes when you download it. Whatever you might be doing, run CMake and on the project. If it fails because it can't find includes or it can't find something that it's looking for in here, it's most likely because the path to your libraries is different. So for example, in find lime2d.cmake, I made this file. You should have it too. If you put lime2d somewhere that's not here, if you're on Windows, or here if you're on a Mac, then it's not going to be able to find it, and CMake's going to give you errors. So this directory right here I can show you is this directory right here, library/frameworks. And you see I have a folder here called Lime2D, and inside it I have an include and a lib. Inside the lib I have lib lime2d.a, and inside the include I have lime2d.h and lime2d.internal.h. Okay? You don't need to worry about either of those right now, any of that. You just need to make sure that this folder is where find lime2d.cmake is looking for it. It doesn't have to be in the same place I put it, it just has to be wherever it is that this CMake file is looking for it. The rest of this you shouldn't need to touch. Same goes for the other libraries. Lua, I didn't write this, but as you can see, I added c/Lua here because that's on Windows where I keep my Lua install. On the Mac, it's somewhere else, it's in one of these, so it just works. And then the rest you don't have to worry about. Similarly, find opengl.cmake. On Mac I need this, on Windows I don't, not sure why. But either way, this is where my OpenGL install is, or framework is on Mac. If you're having trouble with Windows, you can just add a path to your OpenGL library here, just like we did with Lime2D. Same thing for SFML, obviously, there's no difference here. This is the directory I said to put SFML in. If you put it somewhere else, just make sure this file knows about it. So now that that's all done, at this point, CMake should work. You should be able to run CMake on your project and it shouldn't give you errors. If you are getting errors still, contact me somehow. Post it below on this video. Post it on the Lime2D setup guide page, which is also linked in the description of this video. Tweet it at me. Do something. Let me know what the problem is, and I'll help you. So now that that's done, if you're on Windows, something important that you still need to do is, if you're on Windows, put the DLL files from SFML in the debug/release folders. Debug in the release folders for your project. CLion puts its projects in a really weird place. Depending on your operating system, it's a little bit different. Figure out where CLion is building your project to. You can find that out by clicking Build, and you'll see this long path. And you'll see it goes to a debug folder. You're going to want to, on Windows, drop your DLLs in that folder. Okay? So do that. And then finally, in your IDE, set your working directory to the root of the project. So if I go to Edit Configurations in CLion, a note for Lime, you will see that I need to set, my executable is set already. I need to set my working directory. So I'm going to set that equal to desktop, a note for Lime, just the root folder of your project. Hit OK. And now you should be able to build successfully, and it should say built. And then you should be able to run it. And you should see a black window like this. So I'll minimize everything right now so you can see this well. So at this point, if you're at this point, you're in very good shape. You have a game window open, a very real SFML game window open, and it's working. So the next thing you're going to want to do is, I'm actually going to bring this back up for a second. In main, you will see this line right here. Else if event type is text entered and event text Unicode is equals. This is the key that will open, that will toggle Lime2D on and off. Alright? Equals. Very important key. You can change that to whatever key you want on your keyboard. I like equals because it's kind of out of the way. I don't use it when in my game development. So it never interferes with anything. So anyway, bring back up your window and then hit whatever key that is. For me, it's equals. And hopefully, if everything went well, everything's set up correctly, you should see this green bar show up at the top. This is Lime2D. Lime2D is now active. So you can click on the menu a little bit. You can open up the About and see About Lime2D. Wonderful. You can hit Configure and change paths. At this point now that Lime2D has started, you can kind of rearrange your content folder if you want. I highly recommend you don't, and you keep it exactly like it is, like I provided it for you in the template project. But if you change the folders, make sure that these paths reflect your changes, because this is where Lime2D looks for stuff. Very important. Screen size, I wouldn't mess with this too much if I were you. Tile scale, sprite scale, you can change those to whatever you want. This just scales up your images when they're displayed inside Lime2D. Camera pan factor affects how fast the camera moves within Lime2D. And the map editor, you'll see what I mean in a second. So now, if you want, just to kind of show you Lime2D working a little bit, if you hit View and then Map Editor, that turns on the Map Editor portion of Lime2D. There's also the Animation Editor, which brings up this. But we don't have any sprite sheets, so I can't really show you that right now. But if you go to map editor, hit load map, you see there are no maps currently in this project. It's brand new. So what you can do is you can go to new map. You can name it whatever map, whatever you want. I'll call it test map. I don't like using spaces. I prefer using underscores or dashes. Whatever size you want. I'll make this map 8 tiles by 4 tiles and tile size of 8. I'll hit create. And now Lime2D creates this nice grid. This is your map. Alright. So also now that a map is loaded, you got some more map options here. You can show and hide the grid lines. You can show the entity list, but there are no entities yet. You can hide shapes, but there are no shapes yet. You can change the size of the map like this. Notice how it shortened to 6 in the configure. And you can save it. And then you can load it back. If you go to load it after it's been saved, you'll see that the map is now here in the list, and you can open it. So if you notice, by default, oops, I zoomed. You can zoom by scrolling on the mouse, by the way. So that's helpful. If you notice at the bottom, you will see a map editor mode. So we're in object mode and we're selecting right now. If you hit the M key or you go to map toggle mode, we toggle from object mode into tile mode, and now you'll see that when you hover your mouse over a cell in this grid, it gets a pink border, and then if you hit the T button, it opens up the tile set window. And if you had tile sets in your tile sets folder, they would show up here, and then you can start drawing tiles onto the map. Now I don't have any tile sets in the default project. You'll have to create those and put them there yourself. So I can't show you that right now, but what I can show you, if you toggle back to object mode, you can add shapes. So say I want to add a rectangle. It's going to be hard to see because the default color is black, and you usually wouldn't draw shapes unless there were tiles here. So you would normally be able to see this rectangle much better because there would be tiles behind it. But you can change the color of it by, after you draw it, right click, edit shape, and you can just change the color. So I'm just going to change it so that we can see it very easily. I'll make it a bright blue. Alright, so here's our rectangle. So this is a shape. This could represent anything you want. It could represent collision. It could represent a location to do something. It could be anything. So assume that there were tiles drawn back here, like a ground. You can draw this rectangle here, and it could represent your collision detection. And you can put it into an object group called collision. You can name it ground, and it will save, and now this rectangle is ground collision. If you go into the entity list that I talked about before, under objects, rectangles, collision, now you see this rectangle ground here, and you can edit the properties from here as well. So these shapes are very useful. They can mean whatever you want them to mean. You can move them around, you can make them bigger or smaller, you can do anything. So shapes are useful. I'll also show you, you can do points the same way. I'll show you a line. If you click a line object, you want to make one, and you can click at different points and a line will be drawn wherever you click. And then to stop, you right click, you get out of line mode and you're back in select mode, and now this line is an object. You can drag points around to move it wherever you want. You can look at this line in the entity list. You can see every point that's here. You can delete some points. Let me show you what deleting points looks like. So if if you click the X to delete a point, it just deletes whatever point you deleted, and then the lines reconnect in order. So you can't delete the last 2 points, otherwise you don't have a line anymore. And this is the line after I deleted 8 of the points. Okay? So lines are useful for slopes. Say you had some kind of ground tile here, like a hill that looks like a slope. You draw a line like this, and that can represent your slope. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to show you what all this does and why it's useful. So essentially, you can do whatever you want in Lime2D, and it'll look good. It'll look like a map, and I'll show you an example of that in a second. But then what happens? Then it's still not your actual game. This is all being rendered within Lime2D. So when you get out of Lime2D, sure, it'll cut back to your game, and what is shown? Well, the answer to that question lies in the file that was just created. So if you go back to your project and you look in the maps folder, you'll see testmap.xml was created. And if we look at the XML file, we'll see the name, the size and tiles, the tile width and the tile height. Any tiles you created will show up here under tiles, and then all of your shapes and lights and stuff show up under objects. And you can use these in your game code, this information, to determine what you actually drew in Lime2D and to handle it accordingly in your game. So let me show you I'm going to show you a better example now of actually drawing tiles, because it's a little confusing with it just being black like that. So similar project, the only difference is I added a sprite sheet and a tile set. So run it. Great. Open up Lime2D. Map editor, new map. Another test map. We'll make this one 6 by 3. So here's our map. So I'm going to go into tile mode, and I'm going to open up the tile sets window, and outside.png. So this is what it looks like when you actually load up a tile set into the tile set window. You get your whole tile set split up like this. You can zoom in on it or zoom out, whatever you want. And you get layers and you get an eraser. So basically, on layer 1, I'm just going to double click on this tile that I want, which is the sky. Make sure it's on layer 1. Press T to close the tile set window and start drawing. So it draws my sky on there nicely. Then on layer 2, I want to put some ground. So I put this ground. Layer 2 is on top of the sky, which is on top of layer 1. So just make sure you don't get your layers mixed up too much. So basically I'm just drawing some different tiles. And on this one I'm actually going to put this. Notice this tile has transparency right here where I'm put my mouse. Since it's on layer 2, you see the sky in the background because that's on layer 1. So that's why layers are so important. Same with this one. And then I'm just going to finish this. So this is what a very, very small map looks like. You can turn off grid lines with G to look at it nicely. This is what Lime2D lets you do. It lets you draw a map here. Wonderful. Then you can add shapes if you want. So I'm going to turn off tile mode and go back to select mode, object mode. And I'm going to add a rectangle for collision. And you can see the black a little bit better now. So this is my collision rectangle. Draw it like that. It shows up. Position it how you want it. And then I'm going to go to Edit Shape, and I'm going to set it to Collision. I'm going to call it Ground. Good. Then I'm going to add a line for the slope. So I'm going to click here. This is a very, very small map, and it's very zoomed in, so that's why the point looks so big. And the line's going to look so big. So draw your whole line like this. Then right click to get out of it, and then you could drag these around to make it perfect. So I'm basically just going to do this. It's good enough. And what this does for you, now you have a line. Now you can go into Entities, Lines. You can name this Slope. So this line is now slope. All of the points are there. You can change the color of the line if you want. You can change individual point colors if it means that much to you. See? Doesn't really make it too much of a difference other than just what it looks like. The only way to select an entire line is to go through the entity list. Otherwise, you can only select the points from out there with right click. But you can change the color of the line if you want. So maybe all of your blue lines mean collision. Wonderful. So now you have that. And what that does for you, I can show you. Let me save. Make sure you save. So now I can open up that map, which is another test map.xml. So here you can see it better. This is what the tiles look like. These are the positions, the tile position, and these are all the tiles on that. So for example, where there's 2 tiles in different layers, you see it like this. The 6 and the 1 are the location on the tile set, where the actual tile is. And then under shapes, you see rectangle, ground, type equals 1. Type 1 is collision. So that's what that means. And the position and the size. Then we have our line, which is slope, and all of the points. So the final piece of the puzzle here is getting all this to work with your game. So sure, it could spit out this nice XML file, but then what? And the answer to that is to go to my GitHub and go into Lime2D internal. And if you look in the level class, you will see, where is it? The load map function. And this is all of the code that Lime2D uses to parse this XML file and do something about it in the game, or in the rendering of Lime2D. Your code is basically going to need to re-implement this. Now, I'm going to make a video tutorial on how to do all of that, but essentially Lime2D only gives you the XML. And then it's up to your game to do something with that and render it. So just like any other map editor. The difference is it's running right within your game. So what you can do is you can make all of your changes in Lime2D, save it, and then when you leave Lime2D, have your game automatically re-render your map, and you will see the updated version. So that's good. Then the final thing I wanted to show today is now I can actually show you the animation editor because I have a sprite sheet. So you can go to new animated sprite, give it the name of the sprite and the sprite sheet. I'm not going to do that though. I'm just going to show you one that I already created. It'll show up here as a Lua file. And then the animation that you create will show up there. I have one called run right. which is basically going to, I do have to set it up actually, so you give it a description, run to the right. The source position is in my sprite sheet is 20 and 0 and 20. The size, I think, was 14 and 20, maybe. Number of frames was 5, yep. And you can see here, the animation already starts just based on these parameters we give it. And then time to update, the higher, the slower the animation is. So I like 0.2 for this, and that's my run right animation. It's that easy to set up animations now using Lime2D. So if you save it, set it up however you like, just using a regular old sprite sheet that looks like this. So I just gave it basically this, and this, 5 frames, the positions of each of those, and it automatically does the animation for you, and you can adjust it however you want. What that produces when you save it is in your animations folder a Lua file, and if you're not familiar with Lua, that's fine. It's just another format to save this type of thing in. The animation name, all of the parameters that we gave it, and that's it. And Lime2D renders that and shows you the animation however it's saved. So that's it. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for my video tutorials, which I'll be starting next week. I'll link them in the description of this video as soon as they are up and I start, because those are going to be very important in order for you to really understand how to get Lime2D to work with your game. If you run into any issues with Lime2D, you find bugs, you find anything very confusing that you can't figure out, anything that is a clear bug, go to github.com/limeoats. That's me. Go to the Lime2D repository. Click on Issues up at the top. Click on New Issue. Put a title. Put a description. Pictures are great. Up here in Labels, click Bug or New Feature, whatever it might be. And that's it. And then click Submit New Issue. And then I'll be able to work on it. When I see new issues come in, I'll fix them right away. And then when they're fixed, I'll make some kind of announcement on Twitter or something, and I'll put a new release in here. And then you can download the new library, just replace the one you had with the new one, and it'll just work. The changes will be there. So that's it. That is Lime2D. Today is Thursday, October 20th, so tomorrow I will be releasing it officially, along with this video. And I'll put this video up today, actually. And you can start using it right away. So let me know if you have any questions. I know it's a lot of information and it's fairly confusing, and it will be until you see the tutorial videos that I'm going to be creating. Just keep an eye out for those. They'll be started next week, and good luck with your game development. And I hope Lime2D helps you as much as it's going to help me make games. So thank you for watching and for using Lime2D. Also, before I go, on the Lime2D page here, there will be a link to the releases. Check out this page, my Patreon page for this project. Definitely check that out. There's more information about Lime2D, and consider supporting through that. And also my Twitter account, twitter.com/limeoats. Go there and follow me. And tweet at me if you have questions or you want more information or there's a new feature you want added. I'm also going to release a kind of a roadmap soon with more information about Lime2D and what its what it's going to have in the future, my plans with it, because I'm not just going to stop at map editor and animation editor. There's also going to be a third major component that I am not going to talk about right now, but it will help with game development even more than these two. So keep an eye out, and as always, thanks for watching and happy developing.